Chapter 4. Wine is a mocker, and beer a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise. Proverbs 20, verse 1. With my hand resting on the tiller of the small sailboat, I look forward to the captivating adventure that waits just over the ocean horizon. A brisk morning breeze fills the sail as the little catamaran skims across the South Pacific lagoon. A flock of seabirds flies squawking in my wake, and further to the stern I see Kwajalein Atoll. I think of the other Navy frogmen who chose not to accompany me. I can still hear their laughing response. We've been checking sunken wrecks for unexploded ordnances for 3 months. When we finally get a day off, why would we want to dive on another one? But this one is the heavy battle cruiser Prinz Eugen, I replied. During World War II, it was the only ship ever to sail with the German battleship Bismarck. So, comes the unenthusiastic reply. This will still be an incredible dive, I urge. The ship is completely intact, with her full complement of 9 massive 12-inch guns. Let's go crack some beers, one responds. Yeah, echoes another. I'm going to get rip-roaring drunk. Casting off from the wooden pier, I watched my teammates saunter up the dirt path toward the harbor bar. As the wind caught the sail, I wondered that my friends chose to fog their brains with alcohol instead of going after a real life adventure. The catamaran handled easily, and I sailed out of the small marina. A school of flying fish abruptly leaping before the catamaran disrupts the thoughts of my friends. I watch the unique fish gliding rapidly away and wish I had someone to share this adventure with. It is so beautiful in the solitude of the tropical lagoon. I gaze at the cumulus clouds drifting across the horizon against a cobalt blue sky. Then in the distance, I see a lush green island. I head for its north shore, where there is a white sand beach with tall coconut trees leaning over a pale blue sea. There, just 100 yards offshore, sunlight glistens brightly on a huge brass propeller protruding out of the water. Lowering the sail, I arrive with high expectations at my destination. Beneath the shimmering water, I see the massive ship lying on its side. The heavy battle cruiser was damaged during the Bikini Island nuclear tests. She sank on the reef, with her stern barely protruding from the surf, while the bow lies way below at the depth of 120 feet. Quickly donning my diving equipment, I plunge into the cool, inviting water, then reach up and pull in an underwater scooter. For a moment, I pause to stare at the wonder that awaits me. The water is clear and full of tropical fish. Below, I look at the massive dreadnought with its living canopy of colorful corals and waving sea fans. Triggering the scooter, I begin a spiraling descent into the cool water. Riding behind an underwater scooter is like flying in slow motion. Pretending I am a World War II pilot, I do a wing over and go into a vertical dive. I fly over a 12-inch gun turret that has fallen to the side of the wreck, then angle closer to the ship's wooden decks. Except for the colorful corals, there is little damage or rust on the superstructure. Multi-hued schools of fish, their scales glistening in the soft light, swarm the wreck, swimming into and out of the armored deck compartments. Continuing to play bomber pilot, I wind my way down, closely paralleling the ship's superstructure. I can almost imagine the German gunners manning their stations to shoot me down. The bridge looms ahead suddenly, where I see a small black-tipped reef shark cruising the open ports. Further below, the bow lies, hidden in the foreboding darkness of deep water. Passing through a thermocline, a layer of cold water, it turns sharply colder. A chill runs down my spine. Diving alone can sometimes be a little scary. Suddenly, I have the feeling this is going to be one of those times. Warily, I glance over my shoulder. Shockingly, there is a huge fish right behind me. It is a giant grouper, easily over 400 pounds. His bulging eyes glare coldly. Hoping he doesn't have a mean disposition, I aim the scooter right at him and charge forward. With several rapid beats of its huge tail, the giant fish quickly disappears downward into the darkness below. Wouldn't you know it, I think to myself, just the direction I wanted to go in, too. My depth gauge reads 104 feet. I'm too close to turn back now. The gloomy water continues to get colder and darker. Then finally I see the shadow form of the bow. I have already determined to limit my bottom time, but knowing that this big predatory fish is somewhere out in the darkness, I promptly decide to retreat upward to clearer and warmer water. Turning around, I keep imagining that big fish is lurking just over my shoulder. Reaching the 50-foot level, without seeing a sign of old Bug-Eye, I began to relax and decide to explore inside the sunken ship. Tying the scooter off to a handrail, I cautiously swim into an open door just aft of the bridge. The glow of my dive light plays off pale, soft sponges and causes a spider crab to run for cover. Little clouds of silt traces tiny steps across the deck. Going down a narrow corridor, I discover a rack of torpedoes and stop to investigate the captain's living quarters. Looking deeper inside the ship, everything is veiled in silt and darkness. My light doesn't satisfy me that nothing is hiding in the corners. Glancing at my air gauge, I decide to return to the scooter and continue my ascent. 10 feet from the surface, I pause for a 2-minute decompression stop. After attaching the scooter to a line hanging from the boat, I amuse myself by trying to make friends with a small fish. Unexpectedly, the fish flees in panic. Spinning around, I'm shocked to see old Bug-Eye is right behind me, lurking. I scream in surprise, which comes out as blast of bubbles. Bug-Eye jets for the bottom as I rocket for the surface and scramble up into the boat without removing my scuba tank or weight belt. Quickly peering over the side, I see only empty water and feel the rapid beating in my heart. A half hour later, I am underway again, sailing into a light tropical rain. I enjoy the refreshing feeling of the raindrops and heel the catamaran tighter into the blustery trade winds. Entering the harbor, I see twin rainbows shimmering on the horizon. Quickly tying the small boat to the pier, I hurry off to find my friends. I can't wait to tell them about the giant grouper. Entering the darkened bar, I am immediately assaulted by the heavy stench of cigarette smoke that hangs in a lingering cloud. Loud music blasts from the jukebox. Then I see my friends at the bar. One of them snores loudly, his head resting in a puddle of spilt beer. The others are completely drunk and arguing some foolish point. Fortunately, they don't see me as I quickly step back outside into the daylight. Following a jungle path back towards the harbor, I smell the fragrance of tropical flowers and hear exotic birds singing from the lush foliage. Basking in the warm sunlight, I think how my friends have not only wasted an opportunity for adventure, they're ruining their minds and bodies in an island paradise surrounded with incredible adventure. They have chosen to deaden their brains in a darkened bar. Tonight, they will be surly and bad-tempered. Come morning, they will be sick and hungover. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that good choices lead to happiness and adventure, while bad choices breed corruption, sadness, and nightmares. The decision, as always, is ours to make. Who has woe? Who has sorrow? Who has strife? Who has complaints? Who has needless bruises? Who has bloodshot eyes? Who has linger over wine? Who go to sample bowls of mixed wine? Do not gaze at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup, when it goes down smoothly. In the end, it bites like a snake and poisons like a viper. Collecting my gear from the boat, I decide to make a night reef dive. In the dark of evening, many strange and odd-looking marine creatures, not seen during the light of day, come creeping out of the reef's dark holes and crevices. Tonight will be an underwater Halloween adventure.